A very good morning and welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show Expresso on SABC3. Now, a debate around assisted dying has re-emerged recently in South Africa, with Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu coming out in support of assisted dying for the terminally ill, saying that prolonging the life of Nelson Mandela has been an affront to his dignity. Now, it also comes on the back of a debate in the UK on legalizing assisted suicide. And with us in studio to discuss this issue, Lee Last from Dignity.It, Taryn Hodgson from the Christian Action Network, and Dr. Darren Green, multimedia health and wellness expert. Good morning to you all and thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Lee, I'm going to start off with you first because you represent Dignity SA that is spearheaded by Sean Davison, and I understand he was under house arrest in 2010 for 5 years for assisting his elderly mother to die. So what does Dignity SA stand for in this issue, and what is it that you try to achieve?
Okay, Professor Sean Davison was under house arrest for 5 months, just to correct that, and not 5 years. We believe that a good death is a human right. Our Constitution affords us the right to dignity, and that dignity extends until our dying breath. So, like Archbishop Desmond Tutu, we are as passionate about good palliative care, end-of-life discussions, as we are about assisted dying for the terminally ill. We honestly believe that the human rights aspect of our law will protect us in terms of this law change that we're seeking. We're also in the process of trying to legalize advance directives. We've produced an advance directive that has been endorsed by Hospice of South Africa. But currently our law stands that advance directives are not legal documents, which is really crazy if you think about it.
Okay. Taryn, and your organization is completely against euthanasia or assisted dying, as it were. So what are the major concerns regarding the legalization of it, or having a bill that legalizes that?
Yes, well, as a pro-life organisation, we believe that every life is sacred and every life is given dignity and meaning and purpose, even in the midst of suffering through Jesus Christ. And while, you know, there's a huge moral divide between letting someone die and making someone die. The one is letting nature take its natural course, and the other is murder. And we believe that legalizing euthanasia puts governments on a very slippery slope to and can be a very dangerous weapon in the hands of an evil government who may want to eliminate those who are a burden to society or, you know, are in the way. And in fact, a Dutch professor used to be in support of euthanasia has now made a press statement to the UK government saying that he believes it's been a terrible mistake legalizing euthanasia in the Netherlands, and he's seen that slippery slope in action, and he's seen that assisted suicide becoming a normal procedure rather than as a last resort.
Yeah. And Dr. Green, as someone whose practice and profession is governed by the Hippocratic Oath, I guess there's a bit of a concern. But what are those concerns in terms of ethics and your practice, and what does it dictate to you there?
Sure, I think a lot of people, excuse me, misunderstand the Hippocratic Oath. The Hippocratic Oath is an originally Greek document that was drawn up many centuries ago. But currently, we no longer actually use the Hippocratic Oath as part of our swearing-in ceremony, generally at all our medical schools and faculties of health sciences. We actually have modernized versions of it. The original Hippocratic Oath, for example, was swearing by all the Greek gods of healing, for example, to do good, no harm, not inject poison, and that kind of thing. So in our side, from our side as medical, excuse me, practitioners, what makes it challenging is the fact that we actually have a split in the opinion of perception in doctors about what doing good actually is. Preserving dignity and preserving life at the cost, for example, of the family being involved, but also the issue of whether that life maintains dignity through suffering is something that's come to the fore. But at present, we are faced with severe cases of discrepancy, even in state hospitals, where the Clinical Ethics Committee is consulted with a team of doctors and the full team caring for someone, for example, that needs to be taken off a ventilator. And that's why it's very important what my colleagues have mentioned, understanding the difference between withholding treatment from someone, withdrawing treatment from someone, and then the doctor writing the script, for example, for someone to actually have what they call physician-assisted suicide. So those three concepts are very important to understand.
So by my understanding, the current suggestion right now is the option of assisted dying by only given to terminal patients with less than 9 months to live. And so when you look at something like that, is there a bit of a compromise from, let's say, both sides where you balance out the suffering, as the doctor said, with the cost of to the family, but also preventing abuse from one side? I'm going to pose that to you firstly.
I'll use Oregon, USA as an example. This has been legal in Oregon for 16 years.
Yes.
Assisted dying accounts for 0.02% of deaths in Oregon. And after 8 years of the law being in place, hospice withdrew their objection to assisted dying because they saw that there wasn't the slippery slope that was supposedly meant to be there. They saw that people weren't being compromised, the vulnerable weren't being targeted,
Yes.
and end-of-life care wasn't being compromised. So we're very confident that it's for a very small minority of people for whom palliative care is not enough. There's a huge distinction between assisted dying and assisted suicide.
Yeah. And Taryn, to you, is there a way of finding a compromise?
No, I think it's still open to huge abuse. You know, patients can beat all predictions, doctors often make mistakes, and what we really need to be doing is helping and supporting people emotionally in the midst of suffering.
Yes. Well, thank you very much to all of you for coming in this morning and sharing your opinions with us.
Thank you very much.
So as you can hear, obviously a topic that still requires a lot of discussion, a very controversial one, and a lot of debate will still, of course, occur before we reach some kind of end point. But Ilona, over to you right now. What's happening in your corner of the studio?